some of the things I'm going to be talking about today really relate to the use of real-world environments. I'm going to be talking about some applications which Anand, I think, could be interested in, because one of those is the use of digital technologies for neuro rehabilitation, with using a combination of games and immersive technologies. I'm going to try and rattle through this presentation quite quickly, because the beginning part of it is really to do with a bit of background to digital therapeutics. And I wanted to start by just seeing if I can define digital therapeutics. When I first became involved with the International Society for Digital Medicine, I couldn't get my head around why they called it digital medicine, because how can you use digital as a form of medicine? So I tried to persuade them to change it to the International Society of Digital Health, which would include diagnostics and other things. But in the 6 years that I've been involved with ISDM, I now can see quite clearly how you can use digital technologies for medicine in the form of therapeutics. So the first part of my presentation is really to set the scene as to why digital therapeutics is particularly important in today's environment. I'm going to be talking and giving examples of digital therapeutics for mental health and well-being, and also for physical health and well-being. But before that, I'm going to go very quickly through a series of slides which explain something about the challenges which go beyond coronavirus to something more fundamental about life in the 21st and 22nd centuries. So what we've seen over the last century or so, a real increase in life expectancy. And this has created its own challenges, because we've got a growing number of people who are in my age group. I'm 72, so I am in the ageing society already, and I'm very conscious of the fact that there's a smaller and smaller number of people who are working to provide the income to be able to support this ageing population. So this is represented in this graph that shows that from 1945, when we had approximately 40% of people working compared to the retired population, to predictions now going down to about 2.9% of the population. Now, added to that, we all know that we have quite a number of challenges that you will all be familiar with. Our lifestyles, smoking, obesity, loneliness, social isolation, the number of people and the resources available to support them, particularly when they need care. All of these things go to create a problem with the sustainability. I'm just showing a picture as an example of, this is actually my mum. My mum, she was taken into hospital unconscious, and in fact, when I went to see her, she was in acute care, and the nurse took me through the Liverpool pathway to explain that my mum was suffering from, or she was exhibiting, what they call chain stoking, a form of breathing, which is, you're probably aware, is what people have when they're close to death. So she was trying to prepare me for the worst. And I thought to myself, you're actually enjoying this. You know, I got the impression that it wasn't something that she really felt bad about doing. I got the impression that she almost enjoyed having to go through this process with me. And the second thing was that I said to her, look, chain stoking, that's my mum snoring. You know, I know how my mum snores. She spent a lot of her day asleep, so I was quite familiar with that. Anyway, to cut a long story short, she was put into, when they stabilised the condition, she was put into an isolation ward, and I went to see her, and the consultant came into the room, and again said, you know, your mother is extremely ill, and I said, well, When I came in, she recognised me. She opened her eyes, and the doctor was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it. He said, he went to the bottom of the bed, he said, "Mrs. Wortley, can you hear me? If you can hear me, raise your hand." And my mum's hand went up. And so from there on, they went from a situation where they were really withdrawing all the support to help her recover to help her to recover. And she did actually go back again into another nursing home. So these challenges are related to the fact we are living longer, and as I found out with my mum and my partner's father, we need more medical care of the age, fewer people able to support them, and society is changing exponentially. And one of the reasons why COVID is so severe is the fact we've got such social mobility. We travel a lot. I haven't been able to travel for 2 years, and it was a big blow to me. But the fact that we are able to travel so much, or have been able to travel so much, is one of the reasons why pandemics are not going to be a rare event. They're going to be something which is with us for a long time. So coronavirus, what it's done is exposed our vulnerability to unsustainable public services, but it's also accelerated the use of digital technologies for a range of situations. Now, we have a number of choices, I think, when we're trying to deal with tackling the problems that we have today with medicine. And these choices I would describe as being clinical cures, and we've already seen the effectiveness of vaccines in the coronavirus situation. But added to that, we can also deploy legislation, as the government has done, having lockdowns and rules that prevent us from spreading infection. And the third thing we can do is to accept some sort of personal responsibility for looking after our own health. And this is where we have a bit of a dilemma, because I think it's a little bit of a paradox. It's almost like an angel and a devil sat on our shoulder. On the one hand, we've seen the fantastic advances in technology that give us confidence that these things are going to be sorted out, so don't worry about it, we'll have technology that will sort the problem. And on the other hand, we can see technology as something that gives us some empowerment on taking responsibility for our own health. And so, I don't know whether you're familiar with the locus of control, but research shows that younger people today increasingly are feeling that they don't have power over their own future. They feel that technology is actually making them more dependent on technology, and with that they don't feel they have either the control or the responsibility over their future. And I think that's a real issue, because we have to take responsibility for our own health. If we're going to make this transition from cure to prevention, that's absolutely vital to the future of sustainable healthcare. So, how can we influence lifestyle behaviours and circumstances at an individual level, but also at scale? And the way I described it is that we need to create a kind of ecosystem where we provide personalised, gamified and validated behavioural change. Changing people's behaviour, helping them to live healthier and more fulfilled, longer lives is critical to the future of our healthcare services. And these, in my experience, are the most important factors in trying to influence that. Diet, exercise, hydration, sleep, mindfulness and stress management, and a social support network. So a lot of the things that I work with and a lot of things that I use myself in my own personal health management are related to these kinds of factors, and I'd be happy to share with you some of the devices and applications that I use to manage my own health. So what we're using technology to do are first of all to look at things, the factors that influence our personal health management, create benchmarks for ourselves. If we don't know where we stand in the health spectrum, and we can't possibly be able to measure how we're improving on that. Then we need, from a gamification point of view, to set achievable goals. Now, in my case, when I started on this road some 7 years ago, I gamified my own health, and my achievable goal was 10,000 steps a day, because that was the mantra of the day. So in the last 7 years, I've walked at least 5 miles every day, apart from probably less than 1% of the days. So wherever I am, today I walk down to Bournemouth Beach, and I will do my 5 miles during the day. And I use my Fitbit and devices to help to achieve that. So it's very much a personalisation of healthcare. Not everybody can do 10,000 steps, and it's not appropriate for everybody. But what you need to do is to identify those things in your life that you can change, and find the technologies and the methodologies to allow you to do that. And what you finish up creating, I think, is what this personalised, gamified and validated health ecosystem. So I am particularly interested in working with Bournemouth. I've been to many international conferences, and I know Bournemouth has a very good reputation already. And so I'm keen to try and leverage your reputation, my contact network and experience to help bring people and funding and reputation to your university. So now to get to the kind of meat and the demonstrations of digital medicine and digital therapeutics, we're talking about life after COVID-19. What are the kind of things that are going on already, and how do they work? Well, one of the partners that I work with is an Italian serious games company. They've done almost 20 EU-funded projects, and their speciality is gamified health. So they have applications for, particularly for people with neuro rehabilitation, people recovering from a stroke, Parkinson's disease, etc. And so they have this gamified environment. It's not a virtual reality environment, but it uses Microsoft Kinect or equivalent devices. And just got a little video to show you, give you an idea of how it works. So you can see the patient is just using the hand to navigate around the maze. So it tracks motion and it deploys it in a game environment, and this can help not just with physical rehabilitation but also with cognitive rehabilitation by giving people challenges. So for example, with dementia sufferers, they have a typical kitchen environment where people have to pick coloured cans off the shelf and put them on the table. So they're exercising their body, but they're also exercising their mind as well. So there's a range of different kind of applications that they work with. So that's rehability as a project, and I know that the company behind them are always interested in collaboration with universities like Wortley. So the information that is collected from rehability goes to a physiotherapist dashboard, so the physiotherapist can remotely manage the patient. So the patient can be at home, do these exercises in front of their own television, and the data is captured by the system, and the physiotherapist can adjust the exercises and the games and the complexity according to how the patient is doing. But at least it gives them an ability to manage patients remotely without the patient having to travel to a dedicated rehabilitation facility. Now, this is something that I've been using myself. You can see me with my Oculus Quest headset on there, and I'm using a little desktop bike which you can put on the floor and you can cycle with, or you can put on a table as I'm doing here, and you can do exercises. And what I've been using it is with a software, virtual reality software application called VZ Fit, which allows you to carry out exercises, and you can choose your virtual environment. So it is about creating and sharing virtual rides. So this is a little video I made showing myself with the Oculus Quest. So I start the exercise, and you can see I chose the environment, and this is a US environment, and I'm busy cycling through a virtual environment. But because it works with Google Earth, Google Maps, I could cycle from this building into Bournemouth Station or wherever I want. I can create my own customised environment. The one thing that I found with trying to do that with Google Earth, Google Maps, is I found myself a little bit disoriented, because the way that Google Earth captures images, and you perhaps can see this, is that as you're driving along, it has incremental steps, and that can make you feel a little bit dizzy and sick. So there are limitations to it, but there are other applications to work on a mobile phone, and HoloFit is one example of that. This is something which I think has a lot of potential, and I would love to work with you on a funded project to evaluate its potential. I call it 360 and 360 Living Memorials, and it's about capturing the memories of older people and recording family events, so that it can help the person with their memory and stimulate their cognitive ability, but also from a family point of view, when that person passes away, they can have the same experience of being in the room with that person. So what you see on the screen here is my partner's late father. He died in October, 96 years old, and there's a VR video with his girlfriend. She's 92, and they've been together for eight years, and sadly, because of both of their conditions, we had to separate them because we couldn't look after both of them. So Eric stayed with us, and his partner went to live near her family. But I took the opportunity to record some VR videos, and I created a kind of Harry Potter environment using real-world images. And I'd just like to just show you a quick video. Here's Eric, and this is actually taken from the application. So this is our living room, and you can see talking pictures.
Family tree displays when you roll over this area.
And as you roll over, you get pictures of the family, and when it's developed fully, if you click on someone in the family, you will get their memories. So here's Eric and his girlfriend, and if I click on that, they're talking about when they first met on a saga holiday. And this is in a VR environment. You can see me standing there talking to them. And so this is available for their family. And above the fireplace there are these talking videos of my wife, my partner's sisters. And if you click on a picture frame, you get Eric talking about his early life. So I think there's many different applications, and I love doing the lunchtime to show you some of those applications. The other thing I would like to show you is, has anyone heard of Alcove Vr? No? I think it's a wonderful application, particularly for families and dementia patients. In fact, the environment was created to be able to build your own personalised space. So what you get is an apartment like this that you can invite other people to. So other people wearing Oculus Quest can actually join you in your apartment. You can watch videos together, you can listen to music together, you can go on tours around the world, and you can personalise your environment with your own pictures. So if I go on to the next slide, this is actually captured from my Oculus Quest. Jags about a bit. So I've uploaded some of my own virtual reality videos. So I love steam trains, but I also love drones. And this is a 360-degree drone photograph shot in Kuala Lumpur at night. So I turned it into a still image, and within this Alcove environment, you get the virtual reality experience of actually flying through Kuala Lumpur. So, getting very quickly towards the end of my presentation now, when we're talking about these digital therapeutics for older people, solutions are already available for both physical and mental health. And these solutions could do with some research and validation. And lots more solutions will come along. And if I'm trying to sell myself, I have a lot of contacts who are working in this space, so I would love to engage them with you to create win-win situations that will bring funding and projects into you. But it's important that the solution must be plug and play for older people particularly. One of the disadvantages of the Oculus Quest is that it's not a plug and play environment. What I had to do with Eric was to basically load the VR experience and put the headset on him to watch it. And because he's not familiar with the controllers, I had to cast the video onto the television set so I could see what he saw and I could control it for him.